Chapter 16, Sleepover. Do you think there's time to bake cookies before they get here? Janie asked Mom. She had been working all day on getting ready for her big sleepover party. 3 friends from her school musical were going to arrive any minute, and Bat had been watching her flurry of preparation with curiosity, and maybe just a touch of jealousy. You already made brownies and ordered pizza and had Mom take you to the store for 3 different kinds of juice, Bat said, thinking that with 3 different kinds of juice, Janie shouldn't be so selfish about not letting him open even one until the guests arrive. I know, Janie said, twirling her hair up into a bun, but I can't remember if Karina said that she doesn't like brownies or cookies. I thought it was cookies she doesn't like, so I made brownies, but now I'm thinking I might be remembering wrong. I like brownies, Bat said, and I also like cookies. I know, Bat, Janie said, rolling her eyes. Bat hated when Janie rolled her eyes at him. It was rude. He was about to tell her so when the doorbell rang. They're here, Janie yelped, and she ran out of the kitchen. Soon the house was brimming with noise. Janie and her friends seemed to have forgotten the whole concept of inside voices. Bat peeked through the kitchen door. One of Janie's friends saw him and waved. Bat waved back, then headed down the hall toward his room. Janie, he heard a girl's voice ask, didn't you tell me your brother is autistic? Uh-huh, said Janie. So is my cousin, the girl answered. Bat went into his room and closed the door firmly behind him, but he could still hear the girls, only slightly muffled. Bat sighed and flopped down into his beanbag. He wasn't sure what name to give the emotion he was feeling. His eyes darted around his room as he looked for something to do. Even his animal encyclopedia, which usually made him perfectly content, didn't seem appealing, and Thor must have been deep into his afternoon nap because Bat couldn't hear him stirring in his enclosure. Now that Thor was less of a baby and more of a toddler, Bat liked to think of his enclosure as a playpen. In one back corner was the kitty transport box that made a sort of cave for Thor to sleep in. In the other back corner, newspapers acted as a bathroom for the kit, who was quickly learning the right place to go. Up toward the gate at the front was Thor's food dish, which Bat filled 4 times a day, and a water dish, which he changed and refilled every morning and night. Hanging from the gate was Thor's sling, which he used to disappear into, but which was getting a little tight. Mom knocked on Bat's door. He knew it was her because she always knocked in a little pattern. Knock, knock, pause, knock. Come in, he said. Mom opened the door and the girl's noise got louder. She came into the room and shut the door again. Those girls know how to party, she said with a smile. Bat shrugged. I guess, he said. Mom sat at the edge of the bed. How's Thor? He's taking his nap. Bat sighed, and for no reason his eyes filled with tears. Oh, little Bat, said Mom, and she stroked his hair. Are you feeling lonely? Bat shrugged. Maybe, he said. Mom pat Bat's hair in long, slow strokes. It felt nice. Hey, she said, I have an idea. What? Said Bat. Do you want to call Israel and see if he'd like to come over for a sleepover? We could break out your trundle bed, Mom said. Bat had had a trundle bed as long as he could remember, but the only person who had ever slept on it was Janie when they were younger, and he could sometimes talk her into sleeping in his room. Do you think he'd want to? Bat asked. Only one way to find out, Mom said. It turned out that Israel did want to come over for a sleepover. Sometimes life meant lots of waiting and not knowing, but this time everything happened fast. Israel answered the phone on the second ring, and he said yes as soon as Bat asked him if he wanted to come over. And then Bat's mom talked to Israel's mom, and within a half an hour, it was Bat's turn to open the door. When the doorbell rang, it was his friend, standing on the porch holding a pillow and a knapsack. Hi, said Bat. Do you like brownies? They're my favorite, Israel said with a grin. Then he came inside. Chapter 17, Party Games. Hey, do you want to play a game with us? Janie had opened the door without knocking, which she knew wasn't allowed. You forgot to knock, Bat said. Janie rolled her eyes. Okay, then I guess you don't want to play with us, she said. and began to close the door. Wait, Israel said, jumping to his feet. I want to play. He followed Janie into the hallway, turning to say, Come on, Bat. Bat checked on Thor before he followed. Inside the playpen, inside the kitty carrier, the tip of the skunk's tail poked out from the flannel blanket that Thor liked to sleep inside. Bat closed the bedroom door behind him and followed Israel and Janie down the hall. The living room was a mess. Janie's 3 friends sat on a nest they made of all the couch cushions. The coffee table was shoved to one side, paper plates of half-eaten pizza and paper cups full of juice littered all over it. So this is my brother Bat and his friend Israel, Janie said, and these are my friends Karina, Maggie, and Frida. She pointed at each of the 3 girls as she said their names. Hi, said Israel with a little wave. Then he elbowed Bat. Ouch, Bat said. Say hello, Israel whispered loudly. Hello, Bat said. Oh, your brother is adorable, Janie, said one of the girls, Maggie, from the pillow pile. Bat's face felt hot and prickly, and he shifted his weight from foot to foot. Are you guys going to play with us, said Frida. What's the game, said Israel. His voice sounded unusually squeaky to Bat. It's called Two Truths and a Lie. Have you ever played, Janie asked. Thor liked to sleep inside. Bat closed the bedroom door behind him and followed Israel and Janie. What's the game, said Israel. His voice sounded unusually squeaky to Bat. It's called Two Truths and a Lie. Have you ever played, Janie asked. Bat shook his head no. So did Israel. It's fun, said Frida. You just think of 2 things that are true about you and 1 lie. And then you say all 3 of them and try to hide which one is a lie. Then everyone guesses which one is the lie. And if you fool everyone, you get a prize. What's the prize? Asked Bat. A bag of gummies, Janie said, holding up a clear plastic bag full of gummies. Okay, said Israel. We'll play. He flopped down on one of the cushions. Bat sat next to him. I'll go first, said Maggie. Like the girls, she was dressed in pajamas. Maggie's were had the built-in feet and a hood, and she wore the hood up on her head. They were tiger stripe, and the hood had tiger ears sewn onto it. Let's see, said Maggie. I don't know how to ride a bicycle. I'm allergic to shellfish, and I have 13 pets. You have 13 pets? Bat said excitedly. What kind of pets? Bat, said Janie, you can't ask questions. That's not how the game works. We have to guess which of the 3 things is a lie. I hope it's true that you have 13 pets, Bat said to Maggie. She smiled. Okay, said Frida. I think it's true that she's allergic to shellfish, because that's a weird thing to make up. Janie nodded, but Israel said, I think she's lying about not knowing how to ride a bike. Who doesn't know how to ride a bike? Then Karina said, well, actually, my mom never learned to ride a bike until she was a grown-up. She never wanted to when she was a kid. That's crazy, Israel said. I love riding my bike. It's the best, especially downhills, uphills, not so much. Then he and Frida started talking about the really big hill over by the high school and how hard it was to ride up and how much fun it was to ride down until Bat interrupted. I think the shellfish thing is the lie, he said, mostly because he really wanted the 13 animal thing to be true. Okay, who votes shellfish? Janie asked. And Bat, Israel, Janie, Karina, and Frida all raised their hands. We think the lie is all about being allergic to shellfish, Janie said to Maggie. She shook her head and grinned. Nope, she said. I really am allergic to shellfish. They make the inside of my mouth feel all itchy and I break into hives. Janie tossed a bag of gummies to Maggie, who caught it. So what's the lie? Israel asked. It's the animal thing. I don't have 13 pets. I have 14. You have 14 pets? Bat said. What kind? We have 5 chickens, Maggie began, and 2 dogs and 7 fish. My brother Jasper has a saltwater tank. I want to go next, Bat said. Okay, said Janie. Bat thought for a minute. He didn't like to lie. He really didn't. It made him feel uncomfortable and sort of itchy. But since this was for a game, he wanted to make it a really good lie. When he was ready, he said, My favorite fruit is grapes, the green ones. When I grow up, I'm going to be a firefighter. And if I have a baby skunk in my room. Then he pointed at Janie and Israel and said, You guys can't play because you know the truth already. Okay, Bat, said Janie, rolling her eyes again. It's the skunk one, said Maggie. He just said that because of my pet lie. No one has a skunk for a pet. Bat tried really hard not to smile. Karina said, Lots of kids want to be a firefighter, and everyone likes grapes. I think the skunk thing is the lie, too. Skunks are gross, said Frida. So they all voted that the lie was about having a baby skunk in his room. And Bat, practically bursting with excitement, Nope, that's the true thing. I really do have a baby skunk in my room. His name is Thor. Then no one cared about which thing was the lie, being a firefighter, of course, because Bat was definitely going to be a veterinarian like his mom when he grew up. And Janie's friends begged him to show them the skunk, even Frida, who had just said that she thought skunks were gross. Okay, Bat said, I'll go get him. So he went back to his room and scooped up the sleeping kit, blanket and all, and went back into the living room. You have to be quiet and slow with him, Bat said sternly, or else he'll be scared. I'll hold him, and you can pet his head. And then he walked around the circle of kids, showing Thor to each of them. Thor widened his mouth in an adorable yawn, and Janie's friend said, Ooh, and ah, and told Bat how cute Thor was. Even Janie took a turn petting Thor's head. And then, because it was what a good friend would do, Bat let Israel carry Thor back to his enclosure. Chapter 18, Best Friends. After Bat put Thor away, Janie got all bossy and told the boys that she and her friends were going to watch a movie and that the boys definitely wouldn't like it. But when Bat asked what movie, she wouldn't even say. How can you know we won't like it if you won't even let us watch? Bat said. What about the time I said I didn't like Pigs in a Blanket before I tried it? And you made me have a bite of yours and it turned out I really liked it. Do you remember that time? I remember, Bat, Janie said, her mouth in a flat line, but this is different. You boys can watch a movie in my room if you want, Mom offered. Her bedroom was the only one in the house with a TV in it. But Bat wanted to stay in the living room and asked Maggie more about her pets. What kind of dogs did she have? How did her brother make sure that the salt water in his fish tank had just the right amount of salt? Did his fish ever try to eat each other? Bat had heard that sometimes fish tank fish ate each other. Come on, Bat, said Israel. Let's go hang out in your room. Bat followed reluctantly. When they got back to Bat's room, Israel said, I think your sister was ready to have her friends back to herself. What? Said Bat. But she invited us out there to play a game with them. That's because you need more people for a game to be fun, Israel said. She doesn't need us to make watching a movie more fun. Bat thought about it. Then why didn't she just tell us she was done with us? Israel laughed. Because that's rude, he said. Watch. And then he pretended to be Janie. He put his hands on his hip the way Janie sometimes did and rolled her eyes like Janie and said, Bat, I am sick of you and your friend. We don't need you anymore now that the game is over, so please go away. Then he dropped his arms and grinned. He said, See? Rude. That's a terrible Janie impression, Bat said. Israel hadn't changed his voice at all, and Janie always said Bat in a long, drawn-out way when she was annoyed with him, which was often. Bat looked at Israel. He liked the way Israel's hair was sort of fluffy and sort of curly and sort of long, but not all the way fluffy or curly or long. He liked how Israel wore his shirts loose and never tucked in, and he liked how Israel almost always kept his voice low and gentle. There was a lot to like about Israel. You are my best friend, Bat said. Israel grinned. Really? He said. I didn't think you liked me that much. Why would you think that? Bat asked, bewildered. Well, said Israel, when you are at my house, you seem more interested in my dad's truck or my mom's art studio than you are in playing with me. It was true that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, when Bat went over to Israel's house after school, he used that chance to ask Israel's parents the questions he had. Like, how did a pottery wheel work? Answer. Centrifugal force caused by the spinning of the wheel made the clay move outward from the center. And what was the heaviest thing Tom had ever towed with his big black truck? Answer. A broken down RV that belonged to one of Tom's friends. But those questions didn't mean that Bat didn't think Israel was his best friend. You have interesting parents, Bat said. Thanks, I guess, Israel said. You're interesting too, Bat said. Even if you're not a professional potter, and even though you don't own a big black truck. This made Israel laugh. Thanks, Bat, Israel said. I think you're interesting too. Even if you didn't have a skunk kit. I'd like you anyway. Really? Said Bat. He felt kind of shy and happy at the same time. Really, Israel answered. Bat smiled. Then he said, speaking of Thor, do you want to see if we can teach him some tricks? Yes, said Israel. Yes, I do. Chapter 19, Social Animals. It is not easy to teach a baby skunk to stay or sit or to roll over. But Bat and Israel discovered that Thor could learn one trick. Come. When Israel pointed Thor in Bat's direction, and Bat said in his sweetest voice, Thor, baby, baby Thor, come here, baby Thor. The skunk's kitten nose quivered, and his back feet scuttled clumsily along the ground, and his growing black and white tail followed behind him as he made his way across the distance between the two boys. You're the smartest skunk kit in the whole wide world, Bat cooed to Thor, scooping him up and kissing his nose, the top of his head, his fuzzy little paws. When Thor was too tired to come anymore, Bat and Israel fed him a snack of soft bread and wet dog food, and watched as he ate and licked his whiskers. Then he retreated to his nest in the kitty carrier, scratched around for a few minutes, and disappeared into the silence. Bat and Israel sat on Bat's railroad rug just outside of Thor's playpen, eating the last snack before bedtime. A bowl of popcorn Mom had brought them. She made it in the air popper and had poured melted butter over it and sprinkled salt on top. It's great how big Thor is getting, Israel said, crunching a mouthful of popcorn. How long until he'll be ready to release? The question made Bat's stomach feel queasy. He dropped his handful of popcorn back into the bowl. Not for a long time, he said. He's barely a toddler. You wouldn't send a toddler out into the cold night all alone, would you? Right, Israel said. I know not now, but just how long do you think? A month? A year? How long do you think you get to keep him? That's a stupid question, Bat said. He stood up and brushed the popcorn crumbs off his pajamas. What's stupid? Why is it stupid? Israel asked. He was still sitting on the rug, still eating his popcorn. Because it's stupid, Bat yelled. Actually, he knew it wasn't a stupid question. It was the same question Bat asked himself over and over every day. He asked it over and over because he didn't like the answer, and he kept hoping for a different one. The real answer was that Thor could stay with him until the end of the summer, when he would be nearly full grown and be able to forage for himself on his own. Then they would have to release him into the wild. You know, Bat, Israel said, sometimes you could be nicer. How could it be that just a few minutes ago, Bat had been telling Israel that he was Bat's best friend, and now Israel was telling Bat that he was nice? Everything had felt great, and now everything felt terrible. There was a knock on the door, and Mom poked her head in. Boys, she said, it's time to brush teeth and climb into bed. Okay, Dr. Tam, said Israel, and he got up and headed toward the bathroom. From the living room, Bat heard the happy laughter of Janie and her friends. It wasn't fair, he thought. Mom, Bat said, Janie is a social butterfly, and I am a social frog. Oh, baby. Mom didn't ask what happened. She just stood next to Bat and put her arm around him, letting him take a step into her hug before she squeezed him tight. It's late and you're tired, she said. Things will look better in the morning. Things are always brighter when the sun comes up. For butterflies and for frogs.